Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Nature with You. I am your host, Abby. I'm so excited to share this episode. It is the first of a mini series that I am doing with one of my friends, Jackson. This will be called Nature in the Movies. We both love movies so much, so we decided to create a series to explore nature themes in movies. In honor of Halloween this week, we decided to analyze Death of a Unicorn, directed by Alex Scharfman. A father and daughter accidentally hit and kill a unicorn while en route to a weekend retreat where his billionaire boss seeks to exploit the creature's miraculous curative properties. Disclaimer, there will be spoilers for the movie throughout the episode. Enjoy! So at the beginning of the movie, I think most of the action starts when they hit the unicorn, obviously. And I forget, do we see a unicorn right away?
I don't think so. Not until you see it flash in front of them when they hit it.
Yeah, because they definitely try to be, at the beginning of the movie, they try to be more discreet with trying to build up the suspense, I guess, to what the unicorns look like, which I feel is something major I wanted to talk about. It's overarching.
Even before that, though, you see them start to set up Paul Rudd or Elliot's battle with nature, with him having all these allergies to where they are, even talking about how his bosses had this huge nature preserve that they're supposedly going to. I feel like those little bits, even before the unicorn gets into the picture, are really setting up that there's tension around the environment in this movie and how they're treating it.
Yeah, because it's the billionaire lives in this preserve, and
and it's supposedly taking care of the environment, but I think you see as the movie goes on that's not necessarily always the case.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. He does have those allergies. Yeah, that's... See, I already am liking this because you're noticing things I didn't notice.
Right, which, look, I have allergies too. Doesn't mean that, nature hates me, but I think when you're thinking in a fantasy movie like this, obviously something to look for. That's a space version that nature's already fighting against him.
Yeah. And you can definitely see at the beginning that there's something going on between Jenna Ortega's character. Ridley and her dad are experiencing tension and they don't really vibe, which definitely comes into play immediately whenever she goes out to the unicorn that they've hit and she has that out-of-body universal experience.
Right, yeah.
Which I think is just so interesting. And they address it, but not. And it's funny that she's having that experience and then her dad literally starts beating it to death.
Right, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to think of what the cosmic experience represents. And I think it just early on shows that she has a different perspective on nature and the wildlife. And she's seeing it from this, it's the most important thing type view. Yeah, I don't know if you had anything about that.
Yeah, I was thinking, I feel like we all naturally have this tendency to view nature as beautiful and mysterious and out of body, like you said, and all of these things. And, she still has that, childlike awe and, reverence to nature. But he's been so, eaten up by the corporate world that he lives in and all of this stuff that his immediate response is, let's hide the evidence, let's not show that we did anything, let's move on. Whereas she thinks, oh, let's honor what we've done, let's make amends to nature because we've caused something vital to be disrupted. And I feel like that's a huge difference that you see throughout the film, is him and all of the other rich people being how do we make ourselves look better? And then Jenna Ortega's character being more how do I make the whole picture better, not just, even if it means that I take a step back. I think that's a big self-esteem.
Yeah, and definitely just the ability to hold yourself accountable for disrupting the natural peace, I think,
Right.
is something that so many people are unable to do. But like you're saying, it's so important, and it makes it seem like all of these natural things and wildlife, they deserve our respect. And even if we do make a mistake, it's up to us
Right.
to acknowledge that and use that knowledge to not make that mistake again. Whenever Elliot is beating the unicorn, trying to kill it and cover his tracks, the blood of the unicorn is splashing all over them both. So,
Right.
like you said earlier, Elliot had been experiencing allergies, and we do see Ridley had a lot of acne on her face. Whenever a little time passes and they get to his boss's compound, I guess we could say, we see her face starts to heal, and
Right.
Elliot is no longer having eye problems, and his allergies are healing or just better. So
Yeah.
that's when we start to see how we transition into oh, this is the blood can do things that other man-made medicines or practices can't.
Right.
Yeah. And that brings up another big theme, obviously, is the use of natural resources to our advantage, and the billionaire family quickly finds out and immediately goes into business mode, and they are bringing in a whole team, and they're like, how can we use this for profit? How can we use this to make money?
Elliot brought up the allergies almost right away. And then you see the billionaire, played by Richard E. Grant, Odell. He uses it to cure his cancer, and that's when they really start getting into like business mode, is when they're like, oh, I just found a cure for cancer. Which I think does have an interesting ethical dilemma of, if you find something that's a cure for cancer, what level of exploitation do you need? But then also they're killing off other species and other animals. Is that really worth it? But at the same time, we kill and eat animals every day. Like, I think that there's a lot of dilemmas here, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it does come down to the way that these people try to exploit that, right?
Yeah.
They definitely take apart this one unicorn, continually kill it, even though it keeps coming alive itself, which I think is definitely a red flag that I would be like, okay, maybe let's take a message and be like, this obviously isn't working. There's something with nature that we just don't understand.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't try to overdo or try to overcome, because that's not our spot. But they definitely try a lot of different things. I thought it was really funny, but like slightly pathetic, when Odell's son Shepherd like grinds down the unicorn horn and then sits.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was just such a moment of, we really are abusing nature in ways beyond. Like, I think taking the unicorn blood is one thing. You can do that, and it would still cause harm, but a lot less harm, right? And actively, continually killing it, taking its horn and grinding it down, like, they really do go into overdrive with trying to abuse and use this animal to their advantage. And I think that really is where it starts to get like disgusting and be like, maybe we're not really looking at what nature says here, we're just trying to figure out how to get the most money.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the audience starts to learn more, and we learn that the unicorn they're currently picking apart is the baby of the two unicorns that start attacking, once they realize that they are holding the unicorn and trying to use it, I think that even further creates more of a dilemma, because it's, I guess, if you really need to justify killing an adult versus a juvenile, it's even more, wow, this is a baby unicorn still learning.
No, exactly.
Still learning what the world has to offer and all that. Yeah, it definitely...
We also have the aspect of, I assume this is an endangered species because we didn't know these existed until an hour ago.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge thing, too. If we didn't even know that unicorns existed until very recently, maybe we should draw a line and be like, let's hold up and try to learn a little bit more about what we're dealing with and how they deal with the environment and why they all of a sudden come into play before we just start driving it into production.
And going back to just the behavior of the Leopold family when they're trying to figure out what this blood does, they literally get attacked, and members of their staff are dying from the unicorns attacking them. And
right,
that does not
care.
They do not care. They are sacrificing other people for their own financial gain, and
right.
It's just so messed up. But I have to say that Shepard is the one part of this movie that I think helps to identify it as comedy horror, because it's just so ridiculous that it's so funny.
No, I agree. Just the things that he thinks of to even do and try are like,
yeah,
how did this become in your head?
Yeah, like literally snorting the unicorn horn.
Right, right.
As we move along through the plot of the movie, one of the things that stood out to me is how they just constantly set aside Ridley's perspective on the whole issue, and
right.
She even does some research into the lore of unicorns, and
right.
She's sharing all of these things about how unicorns will... Basically, they're just defending themselves from human exploitation, which is what's currently happening. And so she comes at it, tries to share the information, but nobody, not even her dad, cares. And it's just really frustrating, because if they would have listened to her earlier, a lot of deaths could have been prevented. And yeah, it makes me think...
the only person that does care is Shepard, who takes it completely the wrong way.
Yeah.
And tries to sacrifice her because she's the maiden, which is also not at all... Like, I think there is so much value in art and historical art and looking at how nature is shown in there, and we can learn so much from it, but also not taking it to our advantage, right? Looking at what the context is, like Ridley was doing, rather than being like Shepard and being like, oh, here's one interesting thing, let's just run with that, and not actually look at anything else.
Yeah.
They were even making fun of her for being an art history major, and then that's exactly what they ended up needing. So it's important to learn about other fields, and it's important to learn how to do that research and not just take what you can get.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I'm so happy you said that, because it really does highlight the need for like interdisciplinary just communication and knowledge for helping solve environmental issues. I think we just really have a lot to learn from each other, and while it's so essential that we have all this data and all these like climate models and stuff, we need to learn how to communicate the impacts of environmental issues, and sometimes that's best done through storytelling or art. And I've seen some really cool methods of communication, like through music or fashion. So I think that was a cool thing to notice. Yeah. Kind of along the young, pure-hearted maiden part of the story. So if nobody watched it, basically Ridley is the only human that the unicorns act docile towards, because she's quote-unquote a pure-hearted maiden. And that I just learned, actually, on Friday, 2 terms in the ecofeminism movement. They're radical and cultural ecofeminism. So there was a split in the ecofeminism movement throughout history, and there were 2 types of ecofeminism that were classified. And this legend kind of ties into the cultural ecofeminism, that women have a more intimate relationship with nature because of their gender roles, which is controversial, depending on how you take it. But also just because a lot of religions and goddesses used to align the female with nature worship and just women being more spiritual in the context of nature. I think that was cool, just something new that I learned connecting that with the movie. And just even the other type of ecofeminism, radical, that's stems from the understanding that the patriarchy does try to dominate over women and nature and both of them. So there's a certain understanding between women and nature that just makes women more sensitive towards environmental issues. So that definitely could play into why she was the one that the unicorns really trusted.
And that taking advantage of through Shepherd and really the whole family too, trying to dismiss her, trying to sacrifice her, trying to essentially make sure that she gets out of the picture because they don't want to deal with this younger girl who knows a lot more than them and who is trying to, I think, do what they know deep down is right, but they don't want to admit. So that's a really interesting perspective. I think that we see that so much throughout this movie.
If you had to speculate, why do you think they decided to make the unicorns these terrifying creatures? Because usually they're depicted as, rainbows and love and joy. And how do you think that helps the tone of the movie?
I'm thinking about, I'm a therapist, psychologist, or whatever. We think about all of these things that people come to see us for, whether it's anxiety or depression or trauma or, anger issues, and we think about them all. And we try to pathologize them, we try to make them a problem, but really at the end of the day, a lot of these issues are just reactions to the circumstances that people are in. People are anxious because of the horrible things happening around them. But we similarly, we see people with anger issues that are really reacting just to, the bad stuff around them and all of the horrible things that, happens, and it makes them angry, it makes them boil. And I think that's a lot of why we see the unicorn act the way we do here, is that they're not just these angry creatures. We see that with how they interact with Ridley. We see that the tapestries, that they're not naturally angry creatures. They are simply reacting to the way that people are treating them, and people are treating them horribly. So I do think it's interesting that they, because you're right. Whenever we see unicorns, they're usually all fluffy rainbows and their pure is white and all this stuff. But here we see some gritty and angry unicorns, and it's a turn on what you normally see. It's not what you expect. But when you look at the way that they're being treated by the humans, it really does make sense. It's these people are awful. I would do the same thing if someone was continually killing my child and then trying to use their blood, or I don't know, scraping down their finger to be snorted. Of course I would go crazy. They're defending their loved one. They're doing what I think at the core of every animal is, and they're trying to just live and survive.
No, that's a great take. And I do love how, even though they are depicted as reacting in this way, so they're killing humans and they're horrifying. It is a horror movie, technically. I do appreciate that they give them a sort of emotional lens at the same time, because I think a lot of people who are vegetarian or just care about animal rights and things and animal mind, they try to spread awareness that there are some emotions that animals can experience. And like, I think elephants, they go through a mourning period whenever someone in their group, whenever another elephant dies in their group. And I think this movie does a good job showing how if there is a separation, especially between child and parent, they will do whatever they can to get back to it. And that is what we would do as humans for the most part. So I think that helps spread that awareness a little bit too.
We do see so many stories about just the resilience of a mother getting back to her child or whatever. Yeah. This is the same thing. It's just we're looking at the villain side of it rather than the hero side of that story flipped on its head.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
I do wonder if anyone watched this movie and took it the other way, that the villain was the unicorn. I would hope not, but who knows?
Yeah, you never know. People could have been definitely rooting for the rich people.
Yeah, because it brings back the, like, how many people could they prevent from dying of cancer? Like, it's just a lot, yeah.
I think, too, like, people get confused with an antagonist versus a villain, because there's not always, like, specifically the antagonist is the villain, but here, like, the unicorns are definitely an antagonist, like, they're going against who we see as the main character, but they're not villainous per se. Like, they have clear-cut motives that are, like, really for a reason that is honorable, especially when you look at it from, like, an environmental lens. And I think people just conflate those two concepts a lot, but they're not necessarily.
I also am surprised that the unicorns ended up helping Elliot come back to life in the end. I guess it was more so on Ridley's behalf, but they help him come back to life, and they even go so far as to help them escape the police at the end. Like, we don't really see that much of that, but we see them, I guess they push the car off the road or something? Yeah.
They do, and I didn't actually see this, but I'm on the Wikipedia page right now. Did you watch the whole credits?
No, but I saw the same thing that showed the tapestry.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch that now, because I guess I just skipped this, but it is interesting. I think there's an aspect of, for nature, like, redemption is never too late. Like, I think there's a lot of hope in a lot of the environmental things I see, and I don't want to spoil, like, future podcasts, but when you think of things like WALL-E, like, there's this aspect of we're damaging nature, and that's not good, but with enough hope, we can turn around and hopefully start making things better.
Yeah.
And I think him sacrificing himself for his daughter, like, the unicorn saw that and were like, you know what, like, he finally got it. It took him this whole dang movie to figure it out, but he finally got it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the moment that he earned himself the right to survive in this situation. So I think that's really interesting, that concept of, like, environmental redemption.
Yeah, because it's never too late to take action or to learn more that makes you, less ignorant and just connect more things. Right. Yeah. That's
exactly.
Good. I love that.
I am curious, like, what your thoughts were on that last scene when the unicorns are chasing the cop car and, like, hitting that. That was such a good ending to me. I remember, like, in the theater when I saw this, I was like, whoa, like, that really nailed the ending there. What were your thoughts on just the ending?
I feel like that, like, seeing the unicorns in that scene made me feel like it was more of the usual depiction where they're, like, coming to the rescue.
Right.
So it took a pivot from how they were depicted throughout the whole movie, and I think that reflects what you were observing, their reaction to the humans. So I
Right.
really thought it was a great ending and really captured the essence of the nature themes. Just
Yeah.
they're reunited. They helped reunite a father and a daughter too, and I think
Like they had a father and a daughter be reunited.
Yeah, and I think it just shows that there are so many similarities between our lives and the lives of animals and just nature, and I think it was a great way to end the movie. And
I agree.
And I think some people may say, I do believe some people believe that there is no point of redemption if you've really exploited something, a natural resources to a certain point. I do believe there are people who think that, but I think this type of ending is what we need right now, just because we're at such a crucial point for the environmental movement. And so I really liked it. I really liked how it ended. And I honestly didn't know what was going to happen, because they were being taken away, and were they about to be arrested for all those people who had died? And
I didn't thought that was going to be the end. I was like, oh dang, that sucks for them.
I know. That would have been such a sucky ending, but I think it really, like, they really got me in the end. I did not see it coming that the unicorns would come back. I even just thought they were just going to run along the road, but they were like, you know what? Let's help these guys out one last time.
I love what you said about, like, that being the normal depiction of unicorns. Yeah, I think there's just something so powerful about, like, when we finally see them get to live as they, and see that they can do good. I know you said not everyone agrees that redemption is possible, and, like, I definitely see that side a lot, but I think with something as difficult as the environmental movement and, like, where it is right now, like you said, like, I really do think hope is a powerful thing, and, like, it's sometimes all you can have, and only have that hope that someone will turn around and get better, that the course will change. And this is a very minute scale of, like, just this one kind of herd of unicorns, but they still were able to make a difference and to change the course of their history and to grow back. And I think if we, even just starting with those smaller scales and we're trying to find hope through that, can make a lot of difference in the rest of the movement as well.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Nature with You. If you're interested in more content, you can go to YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts for more episodes. Or you can check out my Instagram at naturewithyou_. Thank you.